host, Isaiah, and today we are going to have the lovely Susanne McDonald, Charleston native, on with us today. Welcome on, Susanne.
Hi,
How you doing? How's
I'm doing
Charleston
well.
treating ya?
Charleston is Charleston, it's
Oh, yes.
finally sunny. It's been raining for the past few days, so it's been nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was there. I remember being there with you in July. It was lovely. Such a beautiful place. Number one place.
As
Number
you
one
were
place.
sweating, yeah, and
Yeah,
complaining.
I always debated, and I was like, no, there's no way. No way it's that pretty. No way. No, not the best city in America. Nah. But here I am in the future
Charleston, South
now.
Carolina, it's where it's at.
It kind of is. Kind of is. And not just myself think that. So does Boeing, apparently. So leaving Seattle, heading to Charleston. Well, wonderful, wonderful. All right. So every time, we do a drink of the show. So this week, I decided since I was having a conversation with a Southern girl, I would have some tea today. So I'm trying this thing from my bodega. It's Joe Tea. That's not Southern, I don't think at all. Yeah,
I think they
Montclair,
have a
New
sweet tea
Jersey.
too.
They do.
Um,
I did not
yeah.
grab the sweet tea because I was like, I need a mellow day. Green tea is gonna do it for me today, not the sweet tea. I would be up and wild for this show. So
Fun fact, he had
yeah,
his first sweet tea with me.
yeah. Where did we go? Did we go to the
Gilly's Seafood
Gillies?
on Folly Road.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I was like, I remember you saying is like, I kind of like Chick-fil-A, honestly.
Okay,
but then you're like, no, Isaiah, I cannot take you there. That's so dumb.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so green tea, Joe's green tea, 20 fluid ounces with ginseng. So I don't know what ginseng is, but looking at the ingredients, everything looks to be in order. So I'm gonna crack it and try it out. Not really much of a tea drinker in terms of the cold tea persuasion, but that's dope. That's really good. Oh my god, it's full of so much sugar. What, 24 grams of sugar? That's a lot of added sugar.
Woo.
Yeah, but ooh, I already really like this. I might be getting this more often. So, for those who are tuning in for the first time, Post Cove, if I can speak correctly, which I never can, um, Art Post Cove is a podcast about bridging the gap between the arts and seeing the general change in the industry through 2020 after the COVID-19 pandemic and seeing how the arts are adapting and how we are going to move forward in a better way. Like many politicians are saying, building America better, moving forward in the COVID corona environment and building America back great again. But but anyways, yes. So yeah, that is the idea of Art Post Cove. And Suzanne here is my first person who is not completely submerged in music. And this is
Oh,
exciting. You are my first guest who is a theatrical, of the theatrical persuasion, completely just theatrical instead of being intertwined with music. So I have no idea. And so it's my honor to have you explain a little bit of how you got here.
yeah, sure. Well, I think we should start with BOCO. We met at the Boston Conservatory at Berkeley, our freshman year or our
Yes,
first year
yes.
of college. We actually lived in the same dorm. You were on the second floor, right? And I was on the first.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
was.
Um,
Fun times.
Big brownstone. Oh my gosh.
Right.
But yeah, so we also had this class called Time and Rhythm together, and that is
Forgot
basically
about that.
the only music related class I think I had to take. So yeah, I'm actually an actor. My BFA, my Bachelor of Fine Arts, is from the Boston Conservatory, and my major was contemporary theater with a minor in entrepreneurship. And it's kind of hard to describe contemporary theater, right? It's such a large, vast thing. So, specifically, I was studying devising theater, which is when you're making theater from scratch. So, you're writing it, you're directing it, or you're creating things from a play. and you're changing the play, or maybe you're adapting Shakespeare. Pretty much anything that you're creating your own stuff, and you're doing a lot of things. So it's very interdisciplinary, and you're not just an actor. You're an actor, but you're also a writer and a director, and you're working within an ensemble. And ensemble in the actor's sense is a little different than ensemble in the music sense. So ensemble for me means, it's more cultish. We're rolling around on the floor together, spitting and bleeding all over each other,
Oh, yes.
for hours and hours and hours, of class and of rehearsal time. So yeah, I was
Nice.
really lucky to go to BOCO, and or Boston Conservatory, if you don't know the slang.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I had a great time. Devising theater was not what I thought I was getting my major in. I am an actor with a classical theater background. I actually graduated from a boarding school in Greenville, South Carolina, that specifically is for drama and other art areas, with some really cool alumni.
Hey,
Shout
that's what's up.
out to Tiana Paris, who you might know from WandaVision.
Oh my
Um,
God, what?
yeah. Or Nicole Bahari, who's my absolute favorite. Oh my gosh. She was just in Miss Juneteenth. Check it out.
Oh my gosh. Love me some.
But then I went to BOCO, and I started studying devising theater. And at first I hated it. It was really hard and nerve-wracking, because you're changing things when you're developing your own play. You can change things up until 5 minutes before curtain.
Wow.
Our first and second show was really hard because it was so out of the ordinary. As actors, you rehearse things, and it's not like improv, but there are elements of that. So you can kind of start from a base of improv, but not an improv in the sense of like Robin Williams. It's
Mhm.
not really comedy. It can be, but I am more drawn to the drama side of things. Then I studied in Greece, with the International Theater and Dance Program in 2019. And then I studied at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts in 2019. And that was really a lovely experience. That was by far my favorite educational experience I've ever had. I don't know if it's the same for music,
Mhm.
but people can be really competitive and mean to each other. Um, and, uh,
Oh yes, this is why we're bridging the gap. We need that to stop.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
over
yeah.
at Lambda, everyone was just so welcoming automatically. It was really the best experience I've had as an actor, and as a studying actor. There's really a big difference between being in the real world, and training.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that was a lot. So let's unpack that. So yeah, so you've had a very interesting journey. You have felt the traveling artist life a little bit with from Charleston, Boston to London and even Greece. Along that way, I've got to ask how, and not so much how, but what does art mean to you? Like in terms of to go those lengths, go all over the world, what does it mean? What is it? Because particularly every person's going to have a different thing, and people have written theses or whatever. I'm not best at English speaking language. But people have written so much talking about the difference of what is art, what leads us to become the artist, the starving artist stereotype. It comes from this deeper meaning. What does it mean? Why is it worth it to live on this kind of life on the ropes kind of thing? What does it make you? What about art makes you want to live on the ropes? Because inherently that's what it is for a lot of this journey. So I guess that's my question.
Yeah. You know, I think the first thing that comes to mind is there's a difference between what my art is for me and what art is. And I think what art is it's human and it's necessary. But for me, what art is it's more than necessary. It's more like oxygen. Like I don't really have a choice. Being an actor is something that I wake up and I go to sleep thinking about. Um, I don't know if you've ever had a passion like that. I'm sure with music it's the same for you, but I don't know if
Yeah.
any of your listeners have had that experience. But for me, art is everything, specifically, theater and films. And it's something that I've always grown up with. I've always felt that way. I really can't remember a time where I didn't want to be an actor or I wasn't inspired by theater and film, so much so that I wanted to be involved. And for me, it's about moving people. It's about changing perspectives. It's about opening people up, and it's about empathy. I really don't understand why people can't, take time to understand each other or walk a mile in someone else's shoes, as Atticus Finch would say in To Kill a Mockingbird. And that is what art means to me, which is not surprising because, I I feel like I am an empathetic person, or I try to be, I strive to be. Um, and kindness, I think, can come from, your art, and you can learn, from your mistakes and be a better person and a better, um, you know, civically duty minded person. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I was listening to another art podcast yesterday, and it talks a little bit about like an opera specifically, that like art, you know, what is art for? And it talks about, specifically for some people, you can see when they perform, it's about ego, diva, being that way of, I'm here to impress you. But like, I loved this explanation of like what it is at the end of the day that I heard on the podcast. It was a Sex, Drugs, and Opera. And the guy was like, you use your own shit to move someone else so they can learn to deal with their shit. And I was like,
Exactly.
that is it. Oh my God. Because I'm like, well, why am I there? Why am I paying all this money to see this thing, this person on this stage be a spectacle? Because their spectacle is recreating their past and is making you think about your past and
Yeah.
where you were wrong. And I was just like, oh my God, I had to bring that up when I heard what you were saying about everything. No, it
Yeah.
was incredible. Yeah.
I mean, the money thing is a whole different conversation.
Yeah, the
But
money. Yeah.
But
No.
yeah, that I think that really nails it on the head. And I'm definitely not without ego. I definitely, want to be told good job, and it would be strange. I've actually performed in several productions that we've devised, my ensemble from college and
Mhm.
I, that we wouldn't bow, and we wouldn't really want claps either, so we would just leave. And the audience's reaction to that is crazy because we were like,
Really?
we don't know what we're supposed to do. Is it over? Like, what's happening? And so it's really interesting to look at the relationship of like praise and what it means to be an audience member,
Yeah.
which is really interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, definitely. I remember seeing, God, what did I see? I think I just saw your freshman performance. I
Yeah, I
I
think we
don't
only
think
saw our first year performance, which
yeah.
was a lot. It was not as bad
Dude,
as we think it was, but it was a lot.
I was moved. I was really moved by your performance, particularly everyone's performance, but yours particularly. It was really moving. Do I remember a lot of it? It's been a while, I'll be honest. But I remember just being like, wow, that was it was just like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like, it definitely made me think a
Mhm.
lot, you know.
Yeah, and
Uh
that one I played a stuck waitress who was addicted to drugs and working in food and bev.
oh my God. What
Yeah.
was that? What was that? Oh my God, what was that show that you guys did? Oh
It
my God.
it was called Tongues and Savage Love.
Tongues and Savage Love. I
Yeah, it
was
was
thinking,
by Sam Shepard.
oh, Sam Shepard.
Sam
Oh my
Shepard.
God. Oh my God. No,
Yeah, we actually took poems from him. So they
oh
weren't it
crap.
wasn't a play, it was poems that he'd written, and he's best known for his playwriting and his acting. But he also writes poetry, or he
That
wrote poetry.
that's incredible. What gets you guys like to like do like, because I feel like contemporary theater is so open ended.
Hmm.
And it's like, where does the inspiration come from? And like, what gives you the idea to just be like, okay, we're going to take this person's art and we're going to transform it Because I feel like that's kind of what you did with that.
Yeah, I mean, with school it's different. School, we're told we do it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, there you go.
But yeah, with devising, um, it's the process is different every time. But for me, it always involves some sort of documentation, which means like, oh, I might be walking down the street and I see some graffiti that's really inspiring. So I'll take a picture of the graffiti and then I'll bring it back to the studio, and I'll try to like recreate it with my body, or I'll try to recreate what that feeling is of what the graffiti means, or anything in daily life is very inspiring for me. Or I'll go out and I'll do a lot of research. I also am a dramaturg, which means I love to research, and dramaturgy is like the backbone of plays where you're researching what words mean and what the playwright meant, and anything that you don't understand that you're trying to put together, kind of thing. And so I do a lot of research, which can be like reading books or finding out things. But it all depends on like what the backbone of the piece is. And for that, it was the poems of Tongues and Savage Love,
Right.
which led us down the path of what does it mean to be, young and in love, and what are these like angsty feelings. And we started with just like writing a bunch of words out on a bunch of whiteboards, and that's kind of how it started. And then you just kind of create from your own experience, like that opera podcast was saying.
Yeah.
But you create weird things, like it's not just speaking back and forth, it's also like movement pieces, or playing with props. One show I tried to recreate a hurricane, using cornstarch. The stage manager hated me.
What?
Yeah, it was really fun.
Cornstarch?
Yeah, yeah. So like you could see the outline of the hurricane on the floor, and so
Oh.
then we tried to get mirrors and like reflect it up on the ceiling. Yeah, it was really fun. It didn't stay in the show.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stage manager's like, nah, I don't know
Messy.
about
I don't know.
that.
Yeah, no, so like yeah, we devised a lot of things that didn't make it into pieces. And then you keep making and you keep playing. It's really, at the core of all acting is the sense of play and playing.
Right.
And devising really is just like stripping everything away and playing the whole time, until you have to argue and be like, no, I want this piece in. And no, my
Yeah,
processes were never like that. But yeah.
gotcha. That's incredible. That when I think of devising, since I'm, musically inclined, I think of the closest thing that I think of that is like jazz improvisation. I
Mm,
really like, because the whole idea with like theater, what makes live theater so essential, so important is the fact that, it's never the same every single time. It never ever will be. And even if you go, say you go to a Broadway show, every like day of the week, all 8 shows, it won't be the same. Never will. Any show. They'll try, but there will be something. There will be some sort of mishap that no one figures out about except for the people there. But yeah, no, I think that's really cool in this sense of like with your devising and how like open-ended and how flexible you truly can be. Getting that higher, more organic art is just
mm.
really incredible because you're encapturing experiences that when you open that door, you encapture experiences that are so temporary, and there's like a beauty in that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, comparing it to jazz is a really good comparison. I mean, there was jazz in that show that we did, Tongues and Savage Love.
Yeah.
And that music was different every single night. But that was like that in the very beginning were the only two like improvetic things. Everything else we stage. So, it starts out in that way where it's improv and created
Okay.
and open-ended, and then we decide like what is set and what is not.
Right.
So we had something that we called encounters, which was a movement sequence, which
Ooh.
we rehearsed, but it was different every time, and just like jazz, like we knew, okay, basically an encounter is you're gonna walk up to people, you're gonna have a moment, and you're either going to touch them and wait, share, or not. And you walk away. And that created some really dynamic character development. And that developed throughout the whole show. Um,
Oh my
Different
gosh.
nights, you would see different relationships at the beginning, which was really interesting.
That's spectacular. Like, never would my brain go there. But like I just there's a there's a lot there, and that's really cool. I Wow.
Yeah, but it's definitely two different brains. Like,
Hmm.
I it's really funny, the words are very similar. Classical acting. So I
Yeah.
studied in high school, I studied Shakespeare and what we know as of like more contemporary acting. And then I went to this devising program, which is more like jazz. So it's very classical and jazz minded.
Hmm.
Um, it's almost like having two different brains. It really can be. Not all actors can devise, and I think that was almost proven by me my first year. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
one of my best friends now, we were gonna kill each other,
Oh
because
my
she
gosh.
came from, the background of devising, and I came from the background of classical. So you basically have jazz on one hand and classical on the other hand, and they clash,
Oh yes, they
figuring out how to
do.
get them together and like use your two brains, is the key.
Yeah. But they're connected at the same time. There's
Yeah, it's
still
all theater.
loose connection, but it's still
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
they were, classical music, as refined as it is, was born from playing around, but also breaking the uh, breaking the barriers with classical music was how jazz was made popularized. So I love that interpretation that you have there. So we've wrapped on like what contemporary theater is for quite a while now. Let's talk more about you. So obviously, we wouldn't be on this show if we didn't, have this pandemic that you may or may not have heard of, COVID-19.
Oh,
Yeah, right. But what exactly were you working on before?
wow. What was I working on, huh?
Everyone literally has that reaction, like
Yeah.
so much good
Well,
stuff.
yeah. For me, it was big. Because I'm really fortunate that I come from a family and several schools where I grew up knowing I was going to graduate from college.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Picking a college was one of the most excruciating things I ever did because my whole life I've been told, where you go to college depicts, the rest of your life, which I don't think is true now that I've gone through college.
Yeah.
Um, so I was in my senior year at the Boston Conservatory, and I actually studied abroad at Lambda the fall of senior year. I was actually in Italy in December of 2019.
Whoa.
So yeah, might have been near the outbreak. But I came back to Boston and really loved it. I was really a different person basically after studying abroad. There is something about going abroad and experiencing different cultures. I mean, there's something even so incredible about experiencing different cultures in the United States.
Yeah.
I'm completely different now that I've lived in the Northeast for almost 4 years, after living in the South my whole life. And I came back and was having a great time my senior year, my final semester. Everyone was back together. And I think it was 3 days to spring break, when school got canceled because of pandemic. And, for a couple months, we've been hearing about, oh, that silly little pandemic thing, or like, oh, yeah, something
Yeah.
about some kind of virus. Um, I remember talking about the virus as I was like letting someone else take a sip of my water, which was really funny.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That just like in my brain, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
but like it's like was different.
right. Or I went to a bar and an ice cream shop the night that I was leaving Boston. Like,
Yeah.
I'm leaving because of pandemic, and yet my life had not changed once whatsoever.
Yet.
Uh, And yeah, so I graduated in May of 2020, which means I graduated from my computer from Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been home almost a year, which is crazy.
Wow.
If you had told me that I would be going home, after my college experience, I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah.
I love Charleston, but it was not my plan to come back and move here. So I lived with my parents for like 6 or 7 months, and then I signed a lease in January of this year of 2021 with my best friend from high school, and now I live there here with her in Charleston. And
Living the dream
I know, living the dream.
on the marsh.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're on the marsh and it's really nice. And
Yeah.
now I have 3 side jobs and um,
Welcome to the club.
yeah, just endangering my life. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's what the big gov is
Right.
thinking. Big
But
old gov.
I was able, so we were actually working on a devised piece that was meant for communities with a really great guest artist partner. And so we only got to meet our guest artists once and work with them, but we were actually working with them over Zoom
Oh
before the
wow.
pandemic started. Um, so
Weird.
yeah, so we were already working online with them. Um, and that ended up shifting, obviously. We started to try to do artist pen pals as our kind of last
Ooh.
piece because we couldn't perform together. So we
Right.
set up an Instagram account that we already had under our ensemble Instagram
Okay.
because we went on tour twice and won a couple Kennedy Center College awards and did a bunch of stuff
Woo.
together. We already had an Instagram, but we decided to turn our Instagram into part of our piece sharing called Artist Pen Pals, where we tried to match people up to create art together or to talk to each other like a pen pal, but with art.
Incredible.
Yes, that was our final piece, which was very strange.
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna say I could hear it in your voice a little bit. Yep, that was it. That
yeah,
was it.
yeah, that's what we did.
That's the big one, the last
Yeah,
one
the
that we
very
got.
last one, the one we've been working towards our whole 4 years.
Hey, that's what's up. Hey, I didn't do a senior recital, so I feel the vibes.
Yeah, yeah. It's very strange. The feeling
Mhm.
is like it didn't happen, you know?
Yeah,
But it did. And we
did yeah.
graduated, and yeah, it was, very
A
strange.
piece of cardboard, you know.
And I'm excited to have a summer in Charleston because last summer, because of the pandemic, I really stayed home.
Yeah.
Um, and I went to the beach once.
Mhm.
I got a horrible sunburn though, and it's like still there.
Yeah. What?
Yes, no, there's still like a
It's
tan line. There's
oh
still
my
a
gosh.
tan line. Yeah.
I mean, I still,
I,
what is it? I still have, let me just take my watch off real quick. I'm pretty sure I still have my watch tan a little bit here on my,
yeah.
just doesn't want to go away.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, incredible. So, leaning into that, of course, you've been in Charleston for a while. During that quarantine time, obviously you were working hard on, classes and everything like that. But gotta ask, because it's funny and it's always quirky. What were the hobbies that stuck, and what were the fads that you tried during quarantine, the summer, the whole deal?
Okay, okay, listen, listen, listen. I it was crazy because didn't have time for hobbies or
Oh
fads.
wow.
Yeah, I actually was super busy. So
What?
once I graduated, I started my own like Instagram that was specifically for like helping creatives get out there. It was called
Yeah.
Collaborative Creatives Charleston, and that was
Okay.
part of my entrepreneurship minor. So basically, I was running this Instagram, and then I was also working for a theater company called the what is it called now? They've changed their name, the Charleston Performing Arts Center.
Oh wow.
And so this was when we were still in person because we only had 3 people. So I would go into the theater and I'd help around the theater, do what I needed to do, and then I'd teach classes online. So immediately I started working as a teaching artist and I started auditioning. So I've had an agent
Wow.
since January of 2020. Um, really lucky that I signed when I did. And she's located here in Charleston, South Carolina.
Mm.
So I've been auditioning with her. And then once the summer was over, the theater died down. We were also working on a project. So I was also assistant artistic directing and stage managing and project managing um, a musical, a Disney musical, where we were trying to pivot and create different things. And so, first we tried, okay, we're going to just postpone until the end of summer. Then we were thinking about doing like a parking lot show, like a drive-in kind of thing, and then eventually we decided to let the show go, and
Right.
be a part of the shows that died in 2020.
Ah, yes, the long list of them.
Long list. And so then immediately after that, I started an internship with the oh gosh, now I'm getting nervous. Um, Remembering names, like I've went through all of it.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
I started an internship with San Francisco, and it was actually through Zoom. So a bunch of the opportunities
Wow.
I had were because of pandemic. Like I wouldn't have been project managing with that theater company or teaching had it not been for the pandemic. I certainly would not be an intern with a San Francisco devising theater company.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so I did that for about 6 months. That was the length of the internship. So it was basically like a fall internship, almost like school.
Yeah.
Uh, so I was doing that, and then um, still auditioning and teaching. I filmed a commercial. Actually, I filmed an international commercial like the week I got back
Wow.
during pandemic,
Come
and
ti
then I
senti? Is it that one? The
yes, that one,
Italian.
the one, yeah, yeah, the Italian one.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did some online acting classes, and then I filmed my first full length film.
Oh my gosh, I
Um,
remember that was so spectacular. I loved it so much.
that was just the short film.
Oh
Um,
my god.
yeah, my short film came out, and a bunch of my friends were able to see it because it was
Yeah.
live streamed, which was really cool, and it won a couple awards, and I was nominated a couple times.
Oh my god.
And yeah, so I basically had a really busy. So I decided because I was so busy and because I was living at home that I didn't get a job.
Right.
And so I made no money. But I was. Can I curse?
Yeah, oh fuck yeah. This
Okay.
is my show. What the fuck?
So I was working my ass off doing
Yeah.
all these projects. Oh, I was so tired all the time, and was so busy with all these art projects. And I think I'm even missing some. Um, and I was auditioning a lot,
Yeah.
and I still am auditioning. Actually, you might be able to see my tripod back there.
Oh yeah.
Just got done with an audition
Oh my
like
god.
30 minutes before we did this interview. And so I've been really lucky that I've just been so busy. And then as I started the internship, I also started assistant directing with my favorite theater company in Charleston called Pure Theater. They're amazing.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so I assistant directed two of their film theater
Okay.
things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what they did was they filmed plays. They filmed one person shows.
Okay.
And that was a really, really cool experience. And then I production assisted a lot of films with them because they also do films and commercials. So I was
Oh
able to be a
wow.
PA, which is really awesome, and how I kind of started making a little bit of money. And that was really great. Some of them were really cold. It was really cold. Yeah, it was one
Really
shoot.
cold. They're just really cold people. No, no, no. The
No, no,
temperature
no,
was
no.
cold. Yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And by really cold, like in the South, that means it was probably like 40 degrees and it was super windy. So yeah, I'm already a baby. I lived in Boston
Yeah.
for 4 years. I was like, fine. Well, I wasn't fine. That
Yeah.
first year sucked. But I was like, got used to it, and then immediately come back home, and I'm horrible, horrible again.
Oh yeah, I understand. Like finally here in New York, like I was like dying in like 40-degree heat like when I moved back because I was in Washington forever and it never gets below like 40 usually unless it's the morning. And then it's just been 32 and I'm like this is great. I love this. I'm only wearing a hoodie and a pea coat. Great. I don't need the parka. No, I just hadn't been in it. And so I was like I feel you on that whole adjusting back to old habits of being weak skinned.
Warm.
The
Yeah.
warm.
Yeah, so I was super lucky that I actually was working a lot. I wasn't I wasn't acting as much as I'd like, and I still haven't. But I was working.
Yeah, you're doing it. You're still God, you of all people, let me tell you, hardest to get a hold of. Like you've been just going. And honestly, even though I asked about the fads and like the hobbies, I'm like, I didn't hear shit from her about her trying anything. I'm like, she might not have something, but I have to ask.
No, I think I tried to play guitar like maybe twice.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, I used to play guitar. Sorry, my
Wow.
makeup looks really bad right there.
Oh, what are you?
Yeah, no, I used to play guitar. It used to really relax me.
Mhm.
I'm a very anxious person. Um, and yeah, so I picked up the guitar maybe like twice.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was like the only fad or hobby I even
Yeah.
attempted.
Yeah, just hustling, kicking ass, just doing
Lots of
shit.
hustling.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my gosh. I remember many times calling you, like working on my website, working on my website.
Yeah, I did.
You
Yeah, I worked a lot on my website. Check it out. www.suzannemcdonald.com.
Oh, yes.
No, I actually worked really hard on my website, and I
Yeah.
actually got one of my friends to edit it as well, and she does great work. I think it's remotebranding.com.
Wonderful.
Um, yeah, she does really great work.
Love that. Love that.
Got
Oh my
headshots
gosh.
like 3 times because my agent was like, "This is not working."
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
the
yeah,
good
yeah.
around headshots. Yeah, so
Oh my gosh.
living the dream of transferring into film.
Yeah, actually though, for real. So yeah, I guess man, you've just hit all the marks. Like really, I have not had to like direct the conversation at all. You've just like boom, boom, boom on
Yeah,
everything.
I'm trying not to direct conversation. Like I'm actively trying not to direct.
No, 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 I
I'm
got you.
usually the one who bosses Isaiah around, so.
Yeah, that happens. That happens. Well,
But no, but actually, things have slowed down a lot in 2021.
yeah.
So I wrapped up the internship and all the assistant directing and the PAing, and took like a 2 week break, just to like try to take a break. I'm horrible at taking breaks; like I can't sit still.
I know.
And then I had to quarantine for 2 weeks
Oh my
after that.
gosh.
So it was like 4 weeks of rest, and I was losing my mind.
There's
And
not
I
enough Netflix in the world for that.
no, and I watch a
No,
lot of Netflix.
I know.
Um,
I know.
it's like my job to be on top of things,
Hmm.
um, all the trends
Yeah. Hey,
that's happening.
absolutely.
But so yeah, so it's been super slow. So and now that I'm in an apartment that I have to pay for, I work at
Yeah.
two law firms, and at a restaurant, and I'm still auditioning. Um, devising has basically stopped. I try
Wow.
to make my own work. It's just really hard to do that with like one person. I'm very much an ensemble driven person.
Yeah.
So making my own work has proven really difficult. So I'm really excited, to see where devising is going to take me and where film is going to take me because they're two very different things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've told me you've had some opportunities to try and audition and etc. for some pretty big wigs. A little bit of Strange Things here and there, stuff like that. Some cool stuff. Some cool stuff. I wow, we've just like zoomed right through. Um, I'm a little unprepared at this point.
No, we
So
haven't talked about the future.
oh well, yeah, yeah. I you said that literally. I was looking over. I'm like, okay, there we go. And then you just bring it up. I'm like, gosh, you're just
Me actively
on
trying
it.
not to direct the
Yeah,
conversation.
it's a thing. Well, I mean, your future. You talk about the devising and moving more towards film. Do you want to kind of how do you think okay, this one's on the fly. How do you think devising will affect the future of performance and affect the future of the art industry in general? Because it's just so open-ended. And we're at a point we're seeing it in like different industries where we're leaving a little bit of the main kind of normalized sounds. I see this particularly thinking about because it's the only thing I've got like anything to go on. It's the music industry, so I'm gonna have to just inject more music because I'm just biased like that. Um, I think of Billie Eilish when I think in terms of like new sounds, new approaches, because Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas, they they use so many alternative kind of sounds in their production of music. And I think alternative and non almost I feel like almost the art industry is heading in a postmodernistic kind of vibe when it comes to creation, performance, your case devising, Do you think that devising will eventually have an effect on the film industry? And like, will these independent ideas, we see in indie music, indie film, these independent approaches, do you think that will have a major effect on the rest of the industry eventually?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought about like the effect it might have on other industries, but for me, I think devising is the future, um, because you're already seeing people make their own work all the time. We have phones and YouTube, and it's super easy to make your own work, right?
Yeah.
But within theater specifically, we're already seeing it. Look at Hades Town, look at SpongeBob the Musical. Things are being created differently, and with different kinds of props and different kinds of meaning, and have different processes. And one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Boston Conservatory at the Contemporary Theater program is because I want to be, working on cutting edge things. I want to change the industry so that we're telling more stories, we're telling different stories, we're telling stories in a non-linear way. I'm really interested in how do we break
Hmm.
Aristotle's beginning, middle, and end, um, that kind of thing. So for me, devising is the future. I think that it will definitely affect films as more people study
Yeah.
it, because 20 years ago, devising, and still today, but 20 years ago, you couldn't study devising theater. You could only experience it and learn it like by hand. And now I studied it, so you're already seeing that arc of change starting to happen. Definitely is still underground, and it's not that popular. If you even look at the way like our college was constructed, musical theater is what got people in seats. Devising theater
Yeah.
does not makes less money than musical theater does. But you see you just see a lot more happening and a lot more creative ideas, and creating things from the very scratch, and not using it in a hierarchical way. Like, actors aren't just actors, they don't just jump when you say jump. They have ideas and they contribute to the whole story, not just their character. And for me, that's why devising is so important, because I'm someone who, I love acting, but I also love writing and I love directing. I love working with people. I'm not there just to, be this body for someone. And I think, like Billie Eilish, she's not there to be a body either.
Yeah.
Um,
She's
and
made that
that's
very clear.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really exciting, because it's also really exciting for women and non-binary people in general, to create more stories for them, about them, create more stories that aren't stereotypes.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think you already see a little bit of like more absurdist things happening. And absurdist theater and devising is very, very close knit. Absurdist theater is like crazy off the wall things. Um, and if you saw, what is Emma Stone and Olivia Colman, um, it was a period piece.
Oh, I have no idea. I'm so
Um,
out of the loop. Oh my
this was
God.
from years ago.
Years
Um,
ago?
what was it called? Emma Stone didn't win the Oscar for it, but she should have won the Oscar for it, um, rather than La La Land. Um, um,
Feels bad.
but oh God, what was the name of that movie? Um, The
God.
Favorite.
The
The
favorite. Okay.
And it has these absurdist moments, and then like it ends with bunnies, and you're like, what? And yeah, or like
Oh,
The Lobster, or a lot of Greek films already start to have like these weird movement sequences and nonlinear timelines, and it's exciting. So we'll
yeah.
see how that overlaps. I definitely want to overlap devising and film. That's what I want to do, but we'll see.
Incredible. how do you think the technological change, forced change, will affect the industry? And with everything being on Zoom, you've had the opportunity. And I mean, particularly, there's been conversations in the opera industry now. They're saying, because in the opera industry, what they usually would do, pre-screen, go to the site, you'd pay a shitload of money to go just do a audition, and then most likely it fell through and you didn't get shit, and you're just out $300 because you flew somewhere. So a lot of opera companies are toying around with this idea of, a callback, instead of, say, oh, you have to come back. So like things like that, the auditioning is going to change for the opera industry, is what has been thrown around. How do you think that that will affect, the theater industry, your devising, but also your film, but also like in terms of performance? Because now we are now getting shows coming out that have been made in a COVID world, and they somehow are working. How do you think they're succeeding with that? How do you think that that's going to change how we do things moving forward? Because plot twist, COVID's not going away.
Yeah.
Get
Well,
vaccinated, great.
technology.
But yeah.
Technology's not going away either. And for me, I think the best thing about art in the COVID world, specifically theater in the COVID world, is that it's not super expensive.
Yeah.
Everyone has access, almost everyone, excuse me. Majority of people have access to the internet. Um, and, you don't have to get on a bus. You don't have to travel to go see the show. You don't have to pay a bunch of money to go see a show, mostly online, which is really exciting. So making art accessible is key. That's probably going to change very quickly.
Right.
But, you know, technology isn't going to go away. And it's exciting to see people make advances and make life easier. Um, you know, in the theater and film world, people have been sending in self tapes for a long time now. That was already
Right.
heading that way. In person auditions are usually like a big deal, especially now,
Right.
but even beforehand. What's weird is like Zoom auditions. So that's brand new. So like
Right.
when you like have a panel of people looking at you, watching you live, is very different than sending a self tape. So that's kind of what I've experienced more. Um, but it's not brand new. And callbacks have also been on Zoom, which has been very interesting,
Hmm.
but not that shocking. Um, but the accessibility of art, that's what's exciting. Um,
Yes.
and to be honest, I haven't seen very much theater online that I have been able to be interested in.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I saw was Natasha by the Arlekin Players, which is a Russian company in Boston.
Okay.
They're a devising theater program. They're a devising theater company. Still always in that college mindset.
Yeah, 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 of
Um,
course.
and they do really great work, and they're actually developing an online like theater devising center, which I'm really excited for, using technology and all of these things. Um, and their piece, it was probably like 30, 40 minutes, super short. Because for some reason, even like, I think I have a very long like attention span. I've never struggled with it before. But when classes went online, when theater went online, my attention span left the building. Like I
Right.
really couldn't focus. And so for me, it's really hard to watch theater online because you are having that experience of like you're seeing a show with human people, and it's maybe some empathy is going back and forth, but it's different when you're in person, and it's different than
Absolutely.
film. It's very different than film.
Oh my gosh, yes, totally. I mean, that's why people spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on the perfect TV, the perfect sound setup. The real question is, are we going to be able to, this is another off the, I've just thought of this right now. Are we going to be able to, some point, do you think that technology could advance eventually? Really off the walls question here. Technology advances to a point where theater no longer is needed in person,
I
where
hope.
we could go completely, because we already see this virtual reality headsets. What if there was a way that in virtual reality to capture that feeling? Do you think theaters would not be relevant?
I hope not, and I disagree. theater survived a really long time.
Yes.
And so I think it always, life will find a way. Um, and I think theater will too. Um, but, I've already been on a virtual reality shoot, and it was really cool.
Holy shit!
Uh,
What? Like 360 camera and everything?
yeah, I was like on this like tripod, and it was a ball, and then
Yeah.
the whole crew, like the entire crew, had to leave the room because it was filming 360.
Oh my god.
Um, and yeah, it was for, I don't know, I don't know if I can say for what it was. But it was really cool. Lots of Jason Bourne vibes. Um,
Wow.
and it was really interesting. It was for learning purposes. It wasn't like for a film.
Okay.
But it was really cool. So that, like, I think film is already headed towards that, especially with all of the video game movies that are coming out. And the lots of actors are involved in video games, which is really exciting. That's kind of like part of
Yeah.
the new industry. So we'll see where that goes, and where voiceover and like green screen acting for video games
Yeah.
goes. But I hope not. There's something different about hearing words spoken in person. I
Yeah.
mean, when I walked into one of the Globe theaters for the first time that's lit completely by candles, that's a completely different experience. Going
Wow.
in, smelling the candles, breathing, seeing them in person, feeling the heat, feeling the actors, being in an audience, experiencing community. I think it's really hard to experience community online. We obviously
Totally.
experience it. I have lots of friends online. I feel like I do have a community online, but feeling the community is different.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like particularly in my own realm, there's nothing like hearing music live. There's nothing like seeing theater live. There's nothing like seeing the painting that the person painted themselves hundreds of years ago. So it's a question I throw out there, but there's simple things like, for example, we still can't seem to perfect digital audio to be better than real life. So
Oh,
how the hell are we going to do it with like visual? How the hell, like, video games look really realistic, they still aren't. You can't confuse. You can't look at a video game and be like, I don't know which one's real. One of them is, but I don't know.
even with the
Um
CGI characters they're doing, like with Star Wars, you can tell.
yeah. Well, I'm just bad. I mean I know what is it? It's if you haven't seen Rogue One, what the fuck?
No, no, don't spoil Rogue One.
Fine, fine. Well, there was a CGI
You
character,
have
and
to
I
watch
was
Rogue One.
like,
It's the best
if
Star
you,
Wars.
but it's like if you haven't seen it yet, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's like literally, I think everyone says that's like the best thing that has came out of Disney, right? Rogue One.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
In terms of Star
And
Wars.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Mandalore. Oh, Mando. Um, this is the way. Uh, but no, it's like I don't know. I've been pretty blown away by the CGI, and I was like, I know this person isn't there, but damn.
Oh yeah, I've been blown away by the CGI too, but
Yeah.
also when you see them standing next to a real person, you're like, "Oh, good
See,
try."
it's just what is it? Good old Einstein relativity. Um, so I just
I'm
don't.
sure if I took my glasses off, I couldn't tell the difference, but
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, we just went down the rabbit hole. But hey, that's what this show's here for. We have these conversations, and listeners can do what they will with them. So that's incredible. Do you have anything that you want to shout out that you are going to be doing in the future, or also, of course, you got to throw out all the Instagrams, the TikToks, the social medias, the websites, everything. So just send that out to the people right now.
yeah, sure. I'm not really working on anything other than film right now. And we'll see where that takes me. And as for the future, hopefully moving to New York, after my
Yes,
lease
yes,
is up,
yes.
um, you know, being in the Northeast and the Southeast.
Mhm.
Um, As for, I think my Instagram is probably the only like social media that I really use to as an actor. So you're welcome to find me on Instagram at Susanne SUSANNE.
Oh,
Yeah, I know, very different. MCD11. I think that's my handle. You can
yeah.
put it in editing, right?
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, yeah, I can do a little editing there,
And
or at least leave
and
it
my
in the
website.
profile. Yeah,
Yeah, and my website is www.suzanne, SUSANNE, McDonald, MCDONALD.com.
wonderful, wonderful. Do you have anything like up online that people can see you in?
Yeah, all my stuff is up online actually. So if you go to my website and then you go to film, and scroll down, you'll see my demo and stuff. But that's not really for the general public. That's for casting directors and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, you can see my whole short film called The House Guest. You can
yes,
see The Bathroom, which is an experimental short that I was in. You can see under devising, you can see, I think, the entirety of three of my devised works. You can see a piece I was workshopping um, in Boston with a music major, actually, um,
lovely.
for the world,
Yeah,
crash. And so
yeah.
that was definitely a work in progress. But yeah, you can see a lot of media of what I do, what devising is, and film that I'm working on.
Incredible. Well, before we close out, got to do the review, Joe. It's a wow out of 10. Definitely gonna have it again. Very full of sugar. Gonna slam it back real quick. Spectacular. Suzanne, thank you so much for being on the show this week. Love to have love to have a good old friend from Boston on again, and it's been such a pleasure and we've had such great conversations today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Isaiah. I really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, like, comment, subscribe. If this is ever going to make it over to Apple or Spotify, do the thing, rate the show 5 stars, whatever, and just listen to it a bunch of times. Let's grow this community. But anyways, thank you so much, and peace, guys.
Stand clear of the stand clear of the closing door. Stand clear of the